Hey, this is Drake and Janet, and we are on the Hollywood Raw podcast. So tune in and get all the juicy juice on
all the tea,
all the Hollywood gossip.
Hey guys, welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page. Make sure you drop a comment, like, subscribe,
do all the fun things.
Follow
everything. We're here to entertain you guys.
What are you waiting for? Hurry up, let's go.
Enjoy. All right, our guest today is an actor, a singer who has been in a ton of projects like The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and now has a podcast with his wife, Janet, who is also joining us. Drake and Janet Bell. What's up, guys?
Drake and Janet, thank you guys for coming on the podcast. A lot to get into with you guys. I mean, I feel like there's so much from the recent news to just talking about your past and obviously the new stuff with you guys doing your own podcast. So congratulations on that. It's very exciting because I know it's, you know, from what I've heard, I've heard the first episode and you guys did a great job with it. I know it's not easy to do a podcast with your partner from what I've heard because you guys talk all the time. So how do you make it interesting and fun for a podcast? And you guys actually did that. So kudos to you. Props to you guys.
You know what? That's funny that you mentioned that because I was watching the podcast and I was like, that thought came through my head. I was like, wait, we talk all the time. So how are we going to keep the conversation going? But then it just like, it just flowed naturally. You know, I mean, I think that is, you know, since we do talk all the time, we just know how to kind of keep the conversation going. You know, it was nice.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been together now?
Sorry?
How long have you guys been together?
We've been married for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. And married. But how did you guys meet?
We met through a mutual friend when I was working on a show called Splash. And it was 4th of July and I had gone down to Orange County because it's fun on 4th of July down there. Went down to Newport and my friend texted me. She was the daughter of my diving instructor on Splash.
Yeah.
And so we had become friends because she came to the pool a lot and she was from Texas. Oh no, but she was living in Florida.
Yeah.
And so,
so weird.
Yeah. So she's living in Florida. She comes to LA. And you know, I'm one of the few people she knows out here and texted me on 4th of July. Hey, are you doing anything for 4th of July? I said, well, I'm down in Newport. And then she texted back and it's like, oh, well, so are we. We're going to, you want to meet up? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. We're on Main Street, you know, come. And I told, you know, and then we came and met and I didn't know she was coming. And she was just the friend that like tagged along and you know, we just kind of hit it off. We became friends. We hung out a lot. It was more like just like going to Disneyland together and, you know, just being friends and stuff. And then just turned into now we're married and we have a baby.
I love it. And by the way, Jen, do you work with Drake? Did I read that correctly? You guys work together as well, not just on the podcast, but just in life?
Yes. Yeah. We've been working together for a few years now. I like I produce the music videos.
Yeah, I mean, when we got back, so I put out a rockabilly album in about 2014, and then I went through. You know, I lost my home. I went through a bankruptcy. It was a really rocky time. And so I kind of, you know, I wasn't focusing on my music. I wasn't focusing on acting. I was just going, what am I going to do? You know, I mean, I just lost my house. And then the 2 days after I lose my house, I get a phone call that we're going to do another Fairly Odd Parents movie. And which could have saved my house, but it's too late. So I'm losing my house. It was just a nightmarish time. And so I really just stopped focusing on music and acting and anything, work at all. And then I don't know what motive. I think we just kind of like started getting healthy and getting in the gym. And then I started making some songs with a buddy of mine and put together an EP, and then she really came in as, you know, like artistic director and producer for the music videos. She did all the music videos for this, and we did this all on our own, you know, because I had left the label that I did the rockabilly thing with, and we were just flying by the seat of our pants and kind of,
figuring it out.
Yeah. But she made, I mean, we made some killer music videos,
I think so.
and we had a great, press run, and the album did well, and my streaming numbers started to climb, and then I started booking more shows, and she was an integral part of all, the organization and bookings and
it was so fun.
Yeah, kind of like brought it all, got us back out to Latin America, and we even went to Chile and Peru and Brazil and just all over, and it kind of re-kickstarted my my music again, which is now I'm able to continue that to flourish.
You know what I wanted to ask, because we talk to a lot of celebrities on here and see what their life is like from their perspective, and who I've never really talked to is the spouse of a celebrity. And so, Jen, I want to know, what is it like for you being married to someone who is so famous and that, a lot of people grew up with? And so I got to imagine that Drake's getting hit up everywhere as he's walking down the street. What is it like for you?
Like, do they come up to you and ask you to hold the camera? Like, hey, they don't know who you are. They think you're just standing there. Hey, can you hold the camera, take a photo? And you're just
like, that's got to be annoying, right?
It's not annoying because of the way Drake has always handled it, like from the beginning. I think that exact day that I met him, he already was getting recognized. So I got to watch the way he was, with people who stopped and asked, and he was always just really nice. And it was also like a very quick interaction. And we've talked about that. Like, it's, 30 seconds to a minute of his day, but for that person, they're going to remember that forever. So like, why shouldn't he stop, for that minute?
Well, I'm fanatical. Like, I'm fanatical when it comes to people. Like, I have my favorite bands tattooed on me. I've got my favorite guitar player.
He's a super fan, so I think he understands.
Yeah. So, and I've met people who I looked up to my entire life, and I play music differently now because this person shaped me. And you meet someone, and you're like, oh.
I mean, I know you guys.
That is the worst kind of letdown, when you're a super fan and they suck.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Yeah, and then but I've also met people who I'm like, they take the time out of their day. I mean, they're just amazing. Like I was working with Brian Setzer's my favorite guitar player of all time. I mean, he's it. And we were working together on Monday Night Football opening, and I'm getting to play in a band with him, and we're jamming and stuff. And I'm going to get makeup in the other room, and he comes in with one of his Gretches, one of his guitars. And he comes in, he's like, "Hey man, you got time to jam? You want to play some guitar?" I was like, yeah, guitar. And he's like, anything you want to know, And I was like, dude, am I playing the Stray Cat Strut opening, properly? And he's like, oh no, you're missing 2 notes here. Look at this. And I'm like, I'm gonna be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be that guy,
And he is, and because of that, it has always made me feel really comfortable and not annoyed. Obviously, there's times where people misjudge the situation and they like hit me with their phones, because they're so excited. I've definitely had like a few but other than that, people are always really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, weird to think of like a bad experience with that, because I mean, it happens so much that it's pretty normal. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it just has become pretty normal.
Yeah.
But I also grew up with like, I don't want to say a famous dad, but my dad is really well known in the martial arts world. So I grew up going to tournaments with people coming up to me asking me if I was Master von Schmeling's daughter. I don't know if maybe that makes it a little bit more normal.
It's funny too, because
I definitely grew up that way.
My mom is a 2-time world champion pool player.
And my dad's a world champion in Taekwondo.
And so I used to watch my mom. I used to watch my mom sign autographs, and she would sign pool balls and cue sticks, and I'd go watch her win these tournaments, and have fans and signing autographs, and Pool and Billiard magazine on the cover and everything. So and she was always
so nice,
so kind, and so nice, and met everyone. So I don't know, maybe that also has a little bit, maybe that rubbed off on me a little bit too,
I never thought about that with your mom. That makes sense though.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? Drake, when I hear your name, when people say Drake Bell, I immediately think of the rapper Drake, but you are the original Drake. You know, it's like in my life, you were
Drake. Oh well, I guess he wasn't Drake on Degrassi.
No, he was Aubrey.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
He's-
so I guess I'm gonna be Drake. Okay, I'll take it.
when people say
Okay, I'll take that. All right.
I know that for a fact because I make the joke that I prayed to God to send me Drake, and he sent me the other one. But, fan. But
people say, like, when they mention your name, they mention Drake Bell. I'm like, oh, that's Drake's last name. And then I realized, oh, no. This is there's a different Drake, you know? So props to you for being the original, you know, the OG Drake, you know, who made the name cool. And fortunately, I think the name is like, it's going to be hard to see, you know, Drake, the rapper now is so big. It's going to be hard for someone else to be named Drake because they're going to be like, oh, you named them after the rapper. That name might be like extinct now.
I think first I've been around long enough that people know. And also, I mean, you know, Elvis was huge. How could you have anybody else named Elvis in the music industry? And Elvis Costello. You know, I mean, so there's
think about that. You're right. That's a good way of thinking about it.
Is inviting other Drakes to come up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an invite, a Drake invite. I like that.
All
right, so
out there, you have a shot.
So I want to move backwards a little because I want to get into obviously what the show that put your name on the map. You know, like obviously there's been a lot of stuff in the news with Josh Peck talking on BFFs, but let's go back a couple years back and just tell us, like, how did you end up on Drake and Josh? Like, these are the most fascinating stories to us, that origin story of how you ended up on the show.
So we were working on the Amanda show. So I did the Amanda show first season, and Josh wasn't on the first season, and I was the only guy. So it was like, you know, it was awesome. I got all the parts and all this. And then when Josh came in the second season, I was like, oh man, you know, like I'm gonna get less roles and, you know, whatever. But I can't remember what the sketch was that I first saw him do, but he did a bunch of ad-libbing and just kind of improv off the script. And I was like, oh, okay, this kid's awesome. You know, like he's really funny. He can, you know, he's gonna be fun to work with, you know? So I kind of like didn't care anymore about him not being the only guy. But we started doing sketches together, like Tony Pajamas and When Mascots Attack, and there's a couple of what other ones did we do together?
Oh no, that's you and Amanda.
Yeah, I can't think. I'm like blanking
all
right
my
now,
favorite ones are you and Amanda.
I know, like Hillbilly Moment and you know, Totally Got. But we started doing a lot of stuff together on the show, and I think also we were doing stuff as just Drake and Josh, like behind the scenes.
You were doing stuff like before the show and in between the show, like with the Dancing Lobsters.
Right, and actually that's how we weren't playing characters when Dan and Steve saw the sketch that kind of inspired Drake and Josh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what happened? Dan was getting calls from Nickelodeon saying, you know, we need another show. You have a buddy comedy? He's like, no, we don't have a buddy. You know, I don't have anything like that. And we were doing a skit where me and Josh are just walking along, and we see a shrimp on the ground, and I go, oh hey, look, a shrimp, and I go to pick it up, but Josh goes, no, I want the shrimp, and I'm like, bro, I want the shrimp, and all it said in the script was Drake and Josh fight over a shrimp. That's all it said. And so the whole thing was like us just doing Drake and Josh, what we would do, you know, and it was, you know, it was hysterical. And Steve Malaro, who went on to, you know, Big Bang Theory and all this, he leans over to Dan and goes, well, there's your buddies right there.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
your show.
yeah. And so Dan, you know, he took me to lunch and was like, would you like to do a show? And I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, well, I want to do something with you and Josh. And I was like, perfect. Because I literally, I grew up on Abbott Costello, Martin and Lewis, George Burns and Gracie Allen. I mean, every buddy comedy, you know, that you can think of was my dream. I wanted to be Dean Martin. I was just looking for my Jerry Lewis, you know. You know, when I was working with Amanda, I had that kind of
you did
feeling, but it was more that was more like I felt like she was Carol Burnett. You know, I didn't quite feel like we were, you know,
she was definitely
she was the
Lucille
star.
Ball.
Yeah, I mean, she was killing it,
Yeah.
you know. And but when Josh came around, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally found my Jerry Lewis, my Lou Costello. Like, this is amazing. And it clicked. It just worked really well. And then, yeah, so 6 months later, we were on the set of our pilot. And then the pilot, we shot the pilot, and Nickelodeon didn't want to pick us up.
No, it got shelved.
Yeah, it got shelved for like a year. And Nickelodeon didn't want to pick us up because they wanted to pick up Little Romeo's show at the time. And so they picked up Little Romeo's show.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's cool. But Romeo, but we got shelved and kind of had to kind of fight to get the network to pay attention to us. And but luckily, finally, they did. We ended up reshooting the pilot because, I mean, a year had gone by, so Miranda looked different. We looked different.
Wasn't it a different dad?
Yeah, and then we the dad to Jonathan, which is awesome.
One of our best friends now.
And but yeah, so that's how it wasn't like you know, it was kind of a struggle for the first to kind of, and then when we got picked up, they were like, okay, we'll pick you up, but you get 6 episodes.
So not a full season?
No, we got a half a season. So we shot 6 episodes and then went on hiatus, and we're like, I mean, maybe we'll come back. I don't know. And then it just caught fire, and we, you know, ended up continuing on and becoming one of the biggest shows on Nick, which was
so crazy. Just to think it was that close to not actually happening.
Oh, like, I mean,
and then it turns into a cult classic for kids growing up.
I mean, so many times it wasn't going to happen. I mean, to even get the pilot shot was, you know, and then getting you know, having a year between a pilot and shooting the show.
Kids, so you're changing, your body's changing, it's puberty, like it's.
Also, we're like, yeah, totally. And also, we're like, well, that was a fun thing that we did, but we're never gonna you know. So being kind of bummed and like,
yeah, you move on.
Yeah,
especially as an actor, you're auditioning for other parts, and you were like, oh, I almost had a show.
Yeah.
Like that does hurt your ego.
So I think it would be silly of us not to ask if you still chat with Amanda, if you've talked to her, because obviously her name is all over the news, especially recently because she wants out of her conservatorship. Her parents are on board. I'm just curious if you have chatted with her or if you have any thoughts on that situation.
No, I haven't talked to Amanda for years. Yeah, last time I talked to her,
that's when I saw her.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I ran into her a few years ago, and I had to say something to her because the way I grew up on her and the way that Drake talks about her, I love her. And she said she loved Drake, gave me a hug.
Yeah, she was like,
she's like,
I'm sorry to say hi, but I'm Drake's wife. And
no,
I'm a big girlfriend.
I was girlfriend at the time.
I'm a big fan.
I just have to say hi.
Drake, you know.
And she gave me a hug, and that was it. She's like, give this to Drake. But
I haven't talked to her in years, but she was awesome, man. I mean, that was some of the greatest. I mean, working with her, you know, I watched her on all that. And as a kid, you know, these are the stars for you, you know? Yeah. And so when I got onto her show, I was like, this is crazy, you know, this is huge for me. And then, you know, just learning so much from her, because she was just on fire at that time. I mean, the energy that girl had was just out of control. I mean, we would work and work and work hours and hours, and she's having to go through all this different makeup changes, all these different wardrobe changes, you know, and she got there 8 a.m. Now it's 10 o'clock at night, and, you know, we're going to move. It was a hard show to shoot.
She has crazy talent in there. So.
Crazy talent. I mean, her comedic timing, her physical comedy. I mean, like I said, like she's like a little Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
Carol Burnett, totally.
She's actually the reason I wanted to get into show business. So I am like so obsessed.
Can I be honest with you guys? And Dax, I'm being honest with you. When she first started, like obviously in the past few years with her kind of going through her issues and, her, with the makeup all over her face, I don't know, becoming so, her going through her issues. I actually thought she was like trying to do a character, like because she was so good at characters. I was like, is she like, are we, I don't know. I thought we were just getting played. Like, I thought she was trying to be funny. Then we started to see like, oh no, there's something serious going on.
Well, what I think was good about her situation versus Brittany, I feel like there's a lot more scrutiny and that people realized there was an issue quicker with Amanda, if that makes sense. That I think a lot of the jokes stopped and publicly people understand how serious like mental health can be. And so I feel like with her situation it was like, all right, we watched Brittany just get trashed publicly for something that she couldn't control. And then Amanda was like, oh, there's an issue. Okay, everyone collectively, like, this is not a joke. We've seen it with Kanye, we've seen it with other people. Like, we as a public need to step in and kind of like help that person and essentially stop laughing, stop the joke, stop the encouragement of the behavior in some sort of way. At least that was
I think,
my perspective.
what I've seen with a lot of my friends in the business that are sort of from my era is, we didn't have social media. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have the ability to, or fans didn't have the ability to comment like crazy on everything that we do, And so I think a lot of, I'm not speaking for Amanda. I'm just saying, and this just popped into my head and just in general, I've seen a lot of people in this industry, like that's kind of, when they're not used to that, and they all of a sudden they get like an onslaught of I don't know, hate or internet, just trolls, that's not even
normal troll. Yeah.
It kind of, it really does affect them. And, and so I mean, I've seen a lot of that. So I don't know if that's,
I never thought about that, but that's hard if you're not used to it and then you come back.
But yeah, I mean, when me and Josh were on Drake and Josh, I mean, there was no YouTube, there was no comment section, so
yeah.
It was just there,
a healthier place back then.
Go out in the streets and it's like, oh, hey, I love your show. Oh, your show's great. I love your show. And then you go into the comment section and you're like, whoa, oh my God, do I even get out of bed tomorrow morning? But yeah, it's you just kind of have to kind of get a thick skin nowadays,
Yeah.
So,
Drake, when you were doing, Drake and Josh, don't tell me the exact numbers, but are you for Nickelodeon, do you get paid well? Because from what I understand from Josh, what he mentioned on BFF is that he doesn't get residuals. So were you getting taken care of so the residuals didn't matter? Like, do you think you were paid fair?
Well, okay. Was I paid fair? Absolutely. I mean, okay. For a 16-year-old kid, yeah. I mean, I was getting paid fair, but I mean, the no residuals thing really is a big deal, because the thing that people don't realize, is like, even though there's, I mean, we weren't making what people, Frankie Muniz or anybody on network TV, but we were able to like pay our rent and pay our car insurance and like live a normal, decent life in LA, but we weren't, collecting sports cars and living in mansions and all of that. But also we have managers and agents and publicists and taxes and California taxes. And so, I mean, what you're actually netting at the end of the day is really enough for you to kind of be able to stay in LA and go do this job that you love. It's nothing really to like go anything beyond that.
Yeah.
But the residuals thing really is a bummer, because, and what they do with kids TV is they're like, well, if we don't give this kid residuals and they don't do the part, there's 1,000 kids getting off the Greyhound bus that are just parents are gonna go, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. No residuals. Okay. Does he get to be on TV? Does he get to be a star? And for us, like, we wanted, we have our own show. We've got Drake and Josh. I would do anything. I would do it for free. I'm like, I'm 15 years old. I'm like, sure. Where do I go? And it's not till later in life that you realize, wow, my show plays, or our show plays in every country in the world. It's translated in 200 different languages. It's on every single day, and there's ad spend on all of that. And it's wild. It really does kind of make you go, ooh.
Well, not only that, like when you were just mentioning a couple minutes ago that you went through a lot of money issues in your own personal life, and you're going, what the hell? My TV show is literally playing on air while I'm giving up my house. Like, how is this fair?
I'm watching my show, and then there's like Tony the Tiger comes on afterwards, and I'm like, that's so much money that my face and Josh's face are making this network right now. That's just, and I'm like losing my house. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, great, see you guys. Like, but you know, it is what it is, but at least it was a great vehicle, you know, for my music. I was able to write all the music for the show. I got to write the theme song for the show, and that really, you know, I may have never had any number one hits, but I tell you what, anywhere you go in the world, as soon as I play the Drake and Josh theme song, Found a Way, everyone's singing along and everyone's freaking out, and it's like, cool, that's my hit song, you know. So, you know, you kind of take the.
Yeah, but there is a certain aspect where I've heard celebs say this before, where it's like, it's one thing to like not have money at a point in your life, but it's a different thing when you're famous and everyone thinks you have money.
Oh, that's,
and you're like,
yeah,
this is such a mind F, because
yeah.
you're like, I realize I'm on TV, but it doesn't mean that I'm wealthy and everyone perceives me as that.
Yeah, I mean, especially outside. I mean, in LA and where we were living, like that is the thought. You're like, oh, well, you booked a TV show. Oh, you're on TV. Oh, you're rolling. You're set. But I mean, when I tour and I go, you know, outside of LA, I mean, people, you know, if you did a Folgers coffee commercial once in the 80s, you know, you must live in a mansion in LA. You know, like, it is not. You know, that's just not how it is.
No.
But yeah, I mean, you know, but money, you know, money comes and goes, and even if I made more money on that, would I have more money today? I mean, I mean, yeah, sure. If I was getting residuals, that'd be really great. But you know, I mean, I do okay. So I don't, you know, it's all right.
Were you the type of famous at that time, you know, when the show was going on, that like you couldn't walk outside? Like, walk us through what your life was like at that point. Like, could you go to the mall or were you getting attacked?
Nowhere. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. You know, maybe sometimes if I was at an amusement park or somewhere where there were young people, you know, congregated, maybe I would get recognized. But when Josh and I were on Drake and Josh, we were not living like stars of a television show. Not until social media, and I think with like the memes and the sharing of clips of the show, did it really become
the cult classic
everywhere. I mean,
I really think it's the memes. I really do.
Everywhere I go, everywhere
memes made Drake and Josh like
gave it a new life.
Yeah.
And now we are way more. I mean, I don't want to say we're more famous, but we are. It's like
I mean, you're more famous now than when I first started dating you.
Yeah,
I mean, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting, and Josh says that too. He's like, you know, when we were on Drake and Josh, we were going back to our apartments and we would go to the movies like normal kids and hang out with our friends, and now it really is like totally different, because at that time, if you were on a kids show, you're on a kids show. You know, there were no Demi Lovato's, there were no Hannah Montanas, Miley Cyrus's, there were no Jonas Brothers, no young people were like breaking out
mega stars
into
like that
films and television. You know, you had to be on network TV or you weren't really taken seriously. You're just on a kids show. So like you go in for an audition and they're like, oh, well, he's on a kids show though. Can he really do this dramatic part? And so it was like a strike against you. You know, there was no Shia LaBeouf yet. And
happening at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. We were all doing that at the same time. But yeah, so it's really strange that how later in life it's more. It feels more now like we have a show on the air than
Yeah.
it did when we had a show on the air.
Well, it's crazy because like we'll go somewhere with, you know, a parent or like, you know, people that don't realize how famous he is because they're just an older generation, and we'll be out and he gets, you know, trampled by people and they're like, well, you know, what's going on? What's he from? Like, you know, tell us. And I'm like, oh, we had a show. And they're like, oh, okay. Like recently? I'm like, no. Like,
15 years ago.
like, and they're like, wait, and people still like stop him. And then I'm
was
like,
really
oh
cool.
yeah, more than ever. And it's
I was
social
wondering,
media,
I was
for sure.
wondering, you know, because we are a young show, it always crosses my mind, like, when is it going to, like, when are people going to stop watching it? Or when is the, you know, when is it going to die down, you know? And the other day, these two, like, 9-year-old kids came up to me, and I think one was like 11 and one was 9. There were two brothers, and they came up and they're like, are you Drake and Josh? And I'm like, you weren't even alive when we were young. Like, what? And then their dad's like, yeah, they're going back on all the old Nick shows because they're, you know, they're so much better than what's on today, and they love Drake and Josh, and they're watching all the episodes. I'm like, dude, all right, cool. I guess it's just gonna keep on going. This is great.
Well, that's the thing. It's your
Right?
it's your generation, so all those fans are just gonna keep
Oh, really?
getting older with you as well. So you're just gonna be famous for the rest of your life. Just buckle up and get ready for that. But I think let's get into this Josh Peck interview he did with BFFs. You know, obviously he said a lot of stuff. I want to hear from you because to me it sounded like Josh had a lot of animosity, and it seems like he had pensive aggression about this whole wedding event and you texting him and saying that, you know, I wasn't invited. Was that everything he said? Was that
Actually,
an accurate depiction of what happened?
No.
Actually, Drake, before we even begin, this is what Josh, according to Josh, he claims that you went to social creating chaos and did a press tour on how heartbroken you were about not being invited to his wedding. He said you created a narrative that was that wasn't true. According to Josh, a month later, you guys ran into each other at the VMAs, and he made a beeline to you and said he went up to you, Josh,
No,
Peck went to you and said, "Go apologize to my wife." Is this story true?
You know, it's interesting because, first off, I never texted him cursing him out the night of his wedding because I didn't know that there was a wedding until he posted about it the next day, and that's when I got bummed, and I didn't even realize that it was well, now is that I did Grandfathered right before his wedding.
was grandfather? Is that something
There
that
was-
That was his TV show that he did with John Stamos.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Which is funny. I auditioned for it, by the way. So when Josh got it, I was like, oh, no way, rad.
We were like,
Yeah. But
So you actually did see him, because he made it sound like you guys hadn't seen each other in like 10 years since you wrapped the show. So you're saying, no, that's not true. You guys did see each other pretty recently?
all the time. All the time.
he's been over here multiple times. We only have lived here in the last 6 years.
Yeah. But no. We've hung out a lot. You know, and but obviously, you know, we have had ups and downs and off, you know, times where we spend a lot of time together and then times where we don't see each other for a long time. But not this whole we didn't see each other. And you know, he says that I went on a Twitter rant and I started tweeting all these tweets. It was one tweet. And I mean, if you look at the tweet, all it says is, well, I guess the ties are cut or something like that. I guess I don't even remember what it said. What did it say?
We'll find
In
it.
the
I'm
end,
sure
or,
they'll find it and put it up. It was
but at the end of the tweet, I was like, I'll miss you, bro.
I'll miss you, yeah.
And so I didn't attack him. I didn't do anything. You know,
the
internet does what it does.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was going to happen.
But why do you think his story is so different from your story? I mean, he's literally making it sound like you guys had no friendship, so there was no reason to invite you to a wedding because there was no relationship there. And then it sounds like from you guys, there was a relationship. Maybe it wasn't the greatest at that exact moment or whatever, but that you guys had seen each other, had been to your house and all of that.
I don't want to harp on not getting invited to the wedding.
Yeah.
I don't, that's fine. It took on a life of its own.
Yeah, it was
it was
not
my intention. No. It wasn't my plan. I wasn't trying to throw daggers or anything. I was just like, bummed.
Honestly, he was just emotionally impulsive. He went to Twitter like a teenage girl that doesn't have any followers. Millions of followers, and then he tweets it and then goes, "Oh shit."
But what happened at the VMAs? Did you guys see each other? And was that accurate that he went up to you and just did some, what he says, like Tony Soprano type thing, and said, "Go apologize to my wife"?
No.
I'm sorry. That's just so funny to me that Josh would ever pretend to be tough.
No. He came up and I mean, it's on. You can see it on YouTube. It's on his YouTube page, or on his vlogs. But no, he came up with the camera and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Oh shit, is this really happening right now? What's up?" And then he like kisses me and then is like, "Tell the internet to be nice to me, or tell Facebook to be nice to me." I'm like, "Oh my God, be nice." Like, it's not like I had no idea that people were gonna be mad at him for that.
At him, throwing things at him, like in real life.
I had no idea that people would be mad at him for that. Like, I'm like, but they took sides, and I was like, I mean, I didn't know what was going on. But
we
no,
did
there
not
were no
feel that fire.
But no, there were no like texts or multiple tweets or they said I went on what did he say? I went on a press tour about it.
A press tour. He quoted saying like, "I went on a press tour." I guess I guess from he said the actual word press tour, but from what I understand, and I'm just kind of saying what I understand, what I think he said, he means as you were talking about it in a lot of your interviews.
Okay, yeah, because I did go on a press tour because I put out a record,
Yeah.
but not because I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that would be
wedding.
so.
I guess people need to address it. Every single interview, everyone's going to ask you about it.
Well, yeah, and
It was
usually,
big news.
usually, the publicists and we, tell everyone, we're promoting the music. Let's talk about the music. Let's not talk about this or that. And sometimes they just don't follow, what we ask, and they ask the questions, and then you just kind of have to roll with it, So it's not like I was going out on any. Dude, this was an accident, man. I mean, I was bummed. I tweeted, shouldn't have tweeted, and it was one tweet, and that was it. And I think, Josh, obviously, it really affected them at that time, and I think that now he
even though we got over it, we've hung out since then.
Yeah, we pitched a show
working together on a show in 2019.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we were gonna do it.
Wait a second. So you guys have even hung out since that incident?
Yeah, we're gonna do a reboot of Drake and Josh called Josh and Drake.
I'm so confused. Why is he talking about it like you guys don't get along? I am so confused right now.
I don't know.
I think that's why I got so angry, because I saw that and I was like,
I don't know. I mean,
dude,
we were pitching a show in
like
right before the pandemic. I mean, I don't know.
And Jenny, you posted something on IG, but you pulled it down. What did you post?
Oh, I just called him.
She just said so. Yeah, she just said some expletives. But don't upset the wives. You know what I mean? And like when Josh came up to me and at the VMAs, I mean, first thing I wanted to do was just turn around and freaking hug the guy and tell him, "Dude, I'm so sorry. Like I had no control over this. This was not my intention. I should have texted you instead of tweeted. I should have just texted you and been like, oh, that's a bummer. I would have loved to have been there. Congratulations. Where do I send the gift?" But instead, I, acted like, I was a little bit upset and I was irresponsible and I tweeted.
Was he?
So here's a question. Drake, did you invite Josh to your wedding?
No, because my wedding was like, we got we got married like kind of quick. We were on the road because I tour a lot. And so we had a bunch of shows coming up, a huge Latin America tour coming up. And, we were just like on the road. And when you're on the road, it's like, it's work, but you're also, when you're on the road together, it's like a new city. It's exciting. You're like, it's like you're falling in love again everywhere you go, so we're like, oh, we want to get married. And but then we looked at the time and I'm like, yeah, but when are we going to get married? Like we have 100 shows this summer. We have, I'm shooting this thing at this time. We're doing this. And we looked, and there was like a week in March that we had nothing to do, and we were going to be in LA. And I was like,
2 months from
and it was 2 months from that moment. I was like, all right. And so we immediately went to look at places to get married, and we knew we wanted to get married in the Santa Barbara church.
Mm-hmm.
Not the church, the courthouse.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we've seen it before or what, but we knew
Just looks European.
Yeah, we've just come across it before, and we knew so we immediately went to go see if there were availabilities, and that week was one of the only availabilities at the courthouse.
And we're like, okay,
and
that
so
can't.
Right, that's it. So
it's right in our face.
So then we booked it, and then we finished out the tour that we were on, which was a couple more dates, and then we came home, drove up to Santa Barbara, got our marriage license, hung out in Santa Barbara, had a great day, came back home, and then a few days later we were married. So it was like,
and also there was 15 people there.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was there, my mom was there, her mom, her sister.
And just
and my friend
friends.
Married, and and one of my best friends married us.
Yeah,
and
it was super intimate.
Yeah, and spontaneous.
We got married March of 2019.
2019. Yeah.
And we were pitching the show in January of 2019. And
we were pitching it before we got married.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think things were a little rocky around that time because we said we weren't going to do the show.
Oh, that might be what it was. Okay.
So we weren't going to invite Josh to the wedding because he was not happy with Drake's decision.
I think that might have been.
And but since then, there's still even been texts between Paige and I about when I had my baby. Like there was, even though we decided not to do the show, like I still thought that things were fine. I mean, his wife and I are nice to each other. I mean, I don't know how she feels about me now. She's still following me on Instagram, so
that's good.
But
I think, you know what the thing is, guys? I think at the end that we all want to see like a fairy tale ending. Do you? I know this past few days has been a little bit rough with the internet, the media, the news, everyone talking about this. Do you want to get things back to just having like a civil, but just like a good relationship with them? Is that where you want it to be?
Absolutely, of course. But I've been doing that all through these years. I mean, he says in his book that we decided to go our separate ways when we figured out that we weren't going to be this, comedy whirlwind duo. But I mean, that was never really the case. Just nobody knew. There was just nobody did anything with us. I mean, I was. Every time I get around Josh, I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, hello, this is magic. Like, let's go. Like, let's make our own stuff. And, when he started doing YouTube, I was like, oh, cool. Maybe this will be an opportunity for us to kind of do something together. People, obviously people are loving seeing him again on, and his numbers are rising and all of this. And it just, I don't know. It never, it was the same thing when we were kids. I would go home and I would write, I look up Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin and Abbott and Costello sketches from the Colgate Comedy Hour, and I would because I'd have them on tape, and then I'd type out the scripts as I'm watching them, and then I'd take them to Josh while we were on the Amanda show, and I'd be like, hey, you read the Jerry Lewis parts or the Lou Costello parts, and I'll read the Abbott parts, and I'll be Dean Martin, and da da da. And I don't know. He just we were young and stuff, and it was kind of old comedy, but he was like, this isn't really that funny. Never really got like that excited about it. And then as we were doing Drake and Josh, I was like on cloud 9 because my dream was to be a Dean Martin to a Jerry Lewis. I mean, that's ever since I was a kid, that was my dream. Dean and Jerry. I mean, it's funny because it's Dean and Jerry, D and J, Drake and Josh. I mean, it's very meta, but that's what I've always wanted to do. And so when we were doing Drake and Josh, my thought was, we're going to go off and be Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. We're going to be Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. We're going to go off and, make these buddy comedies and kill it. But at that time, Josh really was wanting to shed the Drake and Josh skin, actually. And, he'd just done the movie with Ben Kingsley. the whackness, and which got critically acclaimed and was, it was a fantastic film, and he did an amazing job in it. And so I think he sort of, his eyes were set on that goal and that path, and which he did well. He went on and did a lot more dramatic roles and things like that. But I'm always for the funny. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why I think that, there's like this little glimmer in the back of my mind that I'm like, Dean and Jerry hated each other for a while too. Whatever, we'll get over it.
Do you think that, like, if he texted you tomorrow and just said, "Hey, dude, sorry, I was just trying to sell some books. Like, all good. I didn't have an issue. Like, I love you. I just needed to do this in my moment." Would you be like, "I got you. All good"?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
I
look,
literally just said that. I'm like, if Josh showed up, you would be like, come in.
Absolutely. And I would like to think that he would do the same thing.
Well,
honestly.
here's the thing. Have you tried texting him since?
Oh, yeah. I texted him. Yeah, and he texted back, and he's like, "Hey, you know what?" Because I told him I read his book.
This is before I.
Oh yeah, this was before she kind of got upset on Instagram. But I read his book. I immediately went to the Barnes and Noble day it came out, and there it is on the shelf. It's so rad.
So you're still supporting him through all of it. You're still buying his book. You're still a Josh fan, even with the comments.
Of course, 100%. Yeah, of course. Dude, you should hear some of the stuff me and my brother say about each other. Come on, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But people ask, a lot, like, is it weird seeing yourself on TV? Like, growing up watching yourself on TV, and it just never really was weird because it's what I did. It was my job. I did it ever since I was really little, and it was normal, So,
yeah.
But when I walked into Barnes and Noble and I saw Josh's book on the shelf, like, that was the trippy that I think was the feeling that people think I get when I see myself on TV. I was like, whoa, what a trip. Like, my friend wrote a book and people want to read about it. And then I open it up and I'm reading stories that I know and people that I know. And it was like, I don't know. It was just it was like that out of body experience of like, how is this? My life is strange. Wow.
So what do you rate the book?
The book? Oh, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a great book. it really is. It's a heavy book. Get ready for a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I that's what I texted him right after I read it, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm really glad I read your book." Like, because there was a lot of stuff. We were dealing with a lot of things growing up when we were doing the show, and we both had our demons, and we both had things that have happened to us in our lives that we were struggling with, and trying to show up on set and just be like on 24/7 and doing our job, and while still struggling with family issues and things were teenagers, and just all this trauma that we've been through, and all this and just trying to not let it affect our work, and so I think that there's a lot in the book that I knew about and I knew was going on, but I didn't really know how deep it was cutting or how much of an effect and impact it was having on him. So that's why. So I told him I was glad that I read the book, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of what he was going through, and that I told him I wish I would have been a better friend, and that I would have been there more for you. But I think there was just this tension sometimes between us when we were going through our dark times. When we should have leaned on each other, we sort of put a shield of strength on, nothing's happening with me. I'm great. I'm doing my job. I'm funny. I'm showing up. I'm on time. I'm doing my lines right. I'm getting laughs. And, when we really should have been like, you all right, dude? Like, let's go have some, and we would be working on set, and then afterwards we'd go hang out, but we would just, we wouldn't,
we'd play video games.
Yeah, we'd go play video games, and we'd go watch movies, and we'd hang out and order pizza, and we weren't sitting there, analyzing our feelings at 16 years old, 17 years old. He'd come over to my house, and we'd hang out and then we'd go see movies. I mean, it was just normal, you know, but I didn't know, you know, I should have been like, dude, you know, how you doing, man? You know, and we just kind of,
You were young. You don't know that stuff when you're young.
exactly.
16-year-old boy.
I give Janet a lot of props because she stuck by you through everything, you know. And I know the past few years have been a little rough. You had some legal issues and stuff, and I'm like, you know, obviously this thing that happened just with Josh. Did a lot of people were they trying to distance themselves from you because of what happened? You know, that because again, Janet has been right the entire side. Was Josh maybe trying to distance himself from you because of that? Again, that's just a thought of mine.
No, and that's interesting that you say that because we thought that. We thought, okay, maybe he just assumes that that we're being quiet or that we're not really active or that the internet hates Drake.
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that it was his time to
get some press.
No, to get back at me for saying for the wedding stuff. I think that really bummed them out, and now he has an opportunity to go out and say, hey, you know.
And he just wasn't expecting me to say anything because I usually don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But also, I was not expecting to get picked up by calling him a liar. That was not.
Yeah, no, that wasn't. Like I said, we don't do.
No, like I
the
posted
things
that
that get
for my
picked up
friends.
on the news are
not,
wild.
You know, it is wild.
Let me ask you guys, with the news and stuff, do you think the news has, you know, obviously you guys have been in the news the past few years, you know, obviously before that, you know, through your acting from the good stuff to the bad stuff, do you feel like the media has been fair to you?
No, not at all. Are you kidding?
Well, what parts? Like, you know, I guess the good times, they like drama. They want to see
New York Times. How about the New York Times reporting that I'm a registered sex offender?
Wrong.
Like, how about the New York Times? How about the USA Today saying that California is going to decide whether or not to register? I wasn't even accused or convicted of a sex crime. I mean, the whole thing is completely misconstrued, and
it's like the clickbaitiest
ever stuff ever, and I mean, it's wild. The stuff that they reported was just
incorrect,
not fact. I mean, it just was wrong, just like dead wrong, and so you know, it's.
But even before that, like these huge, reputable, credible places were saying that Drake changed his last name.
Oh, that I changed my last name, that I moved to Mexico.
Like even the BuzzFeed article today said that we lived in Mexico. Like we've never not lived here.
Yeah.
At a point as a celebrity and you hear all the crap that just keeps getting spread out there, do you just turn it off? Do you feel that you want to respond to it, or you're like, it's not worth it because they're already reporting such crap? Like, what is me saying something going to do about it?
I mean, it gets so absurd because, you know, there was a viral TikTok that came out, and it was, I think, some 16-year-old girl, and she said Drake Bell is going by the name Drake Campana. He moved to Mexico to
literally Bell in Spanish.
Yes. Yeah. He's now a citizen of Mexico, and he ran away to escape legal accusation or something, whatever. It got picked up by every news organ. I mean, we were
trending number 4 on Twitter for like 2
and
days.
Everyone was hitting us up, E! News, like everybody, to respond to a 16-year-old girl's TikTok.
Like, how is that news?
I was like,
that actually sounds like a joke. Like, was she trying to be funny and then it got picked up?
How would I just become a citizen of Mexico and change my last name all of a sudden and have a Mexican passport and just live in Mexico? You know how immigration? Like, what? It was wild. And so it gets so absurd that you kind of just have to, like, you know, when people bring it up, you're just like, oh, well, yeah, no. And then just keep doing what you do. I mean, but it's like, it's like always, you know, I just want to play music, man. I just want to play music. I want to make people laugh. I want to entertain. I want to write. I want to create. And
And people are so mean.
Yeah, and there's just so much noise around
They're
that
so
like
mean.
as long as I can, get up on stage and play my guitar or, sit down on my piano and write some music and go to the studio and record it and, then I'm cool. It's everything else is just it's just noise.
You've had a very successful music career. Who are the people that are showing up to your shows? Are these Drake and Josh fans? Are they people that found your music elsewhere? Are they other celebrities? Like, I'm always curious about that.
It's total mix. You know what? I'm really fortunate that my first two albums, even though the second album I put out through Universal, my first two albums I really did independently. Like I had no A&R telling me what to do. I had no, nobody saying, oh, this is what's hot right now. This is what sounds cool right now. Here's the songs you need to do. I wasn't on Hollywood Records having songs given to me. So my first two records, I wrote them, produced them with my partner, recorded, played everything, and really got to make the records that I wanted to make. And they are not, your typical teeny bopper. It's not the records that you would think that a kid off of Nickelodeon would come out with. And so they're pretty musical and carry a bit more weight lyrically and stuff. So I think fans have really connected with my albums outside of the show, which is really cool. Whether the show brought them to the music but it was like that at the beginning, but more recently it's people just discovering my music, not knowing I made music, or hearing it play in their friend's car and they're like, who's it? And so there are, it's a whole mix. It's, there's organic music fans that have my lyrics tattooed on them and have my autograph tattooed on them and stuff. And then there's people who, come because they love Drake and Josh, but it's more so now. That was like kind of more at the beginning. I think more so now it's like, yeah, people love Drake and Josh, but they're coming because
the music.
They're music. They're fans of the music. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's do a quick speed round with you guys. I just want to see what you guys think. The first thing that comes to your mind. You guys ready to do this?
Sure.
Ready? The best restaurant in LA.
Musso and Frank's.
Musso and Frank's, but also Osteria Mozza.
Okay. What about the most overrated restaurant in LA?
Mr. Chow.
Okay.
I agree. Totally agree on that one.
Last person you met that you were starstruck by.
So just this, was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday. I got to record with my favorite drummer of all time. There's a band called the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a speed round.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Slim Jim Phantom.
Yeah.
I got to record my favorite drummer this weekend.
First thing that comes to your mind. Okay, I'll give you a story.
Okay, sorry. Slim Jim Phantom. My favorite band of all time. It's the Stray Cats and the Beatles for me. So I got to Slim Jim Phantom.
Mine will always be Charlie Sheen. That is my number one celebrity.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was really cool.
Where was that at, by the way?
Lil Pump's concert.
Pump concert.
Yeah, I'm good friends. Friends with Pump, and I went to go see one of his shows, and I'm like looking to my left, and I'm like, "You're Charlie Sheen," and like, and he leans over to me. He's like, I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I just don't, I don't know.
Was he there with his kids or just like hanging?
He was just there.
No, that's why he came, because he brought his kids.
Oh, did he bring his
That's
kids?
why he was there. His kids.
Oh, well, he brought him out on
Lil
stage.
Pump.
Yeah, he brought him out on stage too.
So that's why he was there. Yeah. He brought his
But
kids.
no, it was cool. So I got to meet him. That would be.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I love Charlie Sheen.
He was so
I was
nice.
trying to convince him for do like maybe like he'll play my dad on a show and like I'll be his son and like maybe it's like this kind of. I was trying to like pitch a sitcom to him, but I don't know if it was like I don't know if there was too much pot smoke in the back room or
so much pot.
I don't think he was too into it.
But he wasn't so.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, what about the biggest name you have in your phone?
The one you're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
I mean, the biggest name that I have on my phone for me is Charlie Walk. That's
Okay.
that's the coolest, biggest name for me. But that's not exciting for.
Well, for people that don't know Charlie Walk is a music exec who basically helped the careers of
Shawn
everyone.
Mendes.
Now there's outside of, if you're outside of music, you might not know the name. And I've been in entertainment for a long time, so of course I know the name. But there's a lot of people that are gonna be like, Charlie Walk, who the hell is that? He's huge in the music arena. I mean, literally has helped the careers of everyone.
Ariana Grande, The Weeknd, Destiny's Child, Beyonce. I mean, Shakira. Discovered all of these acts, and I did this crazy thing where I wanted to get to Charlie Walk. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I think he'll get my music,
Mm-hmm.
And so I unfollowed everyone on social media. And I only followed Charlie, and I was like, maybe he'll notice that. And then I started like liking his things, and I would like DM him every once in a while, and sometimes they'd be seen, and sometimes they wouldn't. So I was just doing this whole kind of, I was basically stalking him. But he reached out to me out of nowhere one day, and he's like, on DM, he's like, when can we talk? I was like, now, right now, here's my number. And he's like, called me up, and he's like, what's going on with you? What's happening in Drake Bell world? And then I started talking to him about music. I'm like, oh, I'm making this music and I'm doing this. He's like, no. Like your whole thing, like what I see you're doing something here. And I'm like, oh, he sees like that there is a method to my madness and what I'm doing here, because we have a business together, and we work with other artists and do much more on the creative side than just me as an artist. So, and that's really what I wanted to get to Charlie about, was doing something with other artists and something outside, and kind of being able to do stuff behind the scenes more. And it was wild. It was like my plan worked, and I got a hold of him, and then we became great friends, and he's been a mentor, and it's been awesome. Yeah, it's just wild.
Janet, what about you? Who's the biggest name in your phone?
Oh, but Sean, I guess Sean's the answer. Yeah.
Shawn Mendes, absolute answer.
You have Shawn Mendes' number?
Drake does.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big name. Okay.
Who's it for me? Well, right now, Sophia.
Sophia. Yeah, Sophia's the biggest name in her phone. Our friend Sophia.
One of my best friends is in Uncharted with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg right now. She's the lead of that with him, and she's also in
The Wilds on
and
Amazon, which is an awesome
Grey's
show.
Anatomy, and just all these other things. And I'm just
we
so
did a
proud
movie.
of her.
We did a movie years ago in Texas, like this terrible horror movie, and we just kind of become friends. We stayed friends, and then her and Janet met, and now they're like.
Well, I asked her to be in the music video that we did.
Oh, that's right.
I cast her as your love interest.
Yeah.
In
that's
one of
right.
the videos.
She's in my Honest video.
And this movie is just going to catapult her career, and it's just so exciting.
It's really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's I want to go real quick. So the speed round, guys. What's one food everyone loves but you can't get into?
What's what?
What's one food everyone loves but you can't get into?
Food.
That's tough. We kind of like all the food. Honestly, fish. Any type of fish. I don't like fish. I like sushi. I like sushi, but I don't like any cooked fish. Like any fish dish. Like no.
Yeah, I get it.
Salmon. Like people get like salmon on their thing, and like ooh. No.
All right.
I love
What's
food.
yours?
She
You
eats
don't
everything.
have one, Janet?
No.
Okay. Have you ever called the paparazzi on yourself?
No, well, no. I mean, I've done setup. No, I've never called the paparazzi, but like I've had like publicists like, oh, today you're gonna go do this thing, and we're gonna get some shots like you're shopping or something like that. But I've never like called the paparazzi and done like a Supermensch when he called the police on them on Alice Cooper.
No,
I never. Yeah, Alice Cooper's manager called the police and reported that they were like being obscene on stage, to get press for them. But no, I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, props for I give you a lot of props for mentioning Super Mensch. I like that. Coolest vacation you've ever taken?
Hawaii, I think. Anytime. I mean, we've done it a lot, but that's our heaven.
I think our Europe trip.
Oh, our Europe trip was really great
the
too.
Coolest vacation. I mean,
Yeah.
Hawaii, it's like second home, I feel like now. But we went to Europe, and that was a really cool, because we got to go to different countries every day.
Yeah, it was like a
really
quick trip,
cool.
and we were, in a different country. Yeah.
And it was kind of like in the beginning of us dating too, so it was just so fun. And
yeah.
Not to say that if we went today it would be fun, but
All right. Was there anything that you spent an insane amount of money on that you then regretted later on?
Not that I regretted, but I spent an insane amount of money on clothing.
I was going to say clothes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's something I've always done. I don't know why.
He's obsessed.
I've just always loved clothes. And
you're the nicest dressed person we've ever had on our podcast. I mean, you put on a jacket for us, which is pretty impressive.
But no, I mean, even when I was a little kid and I would get allowance, or I would save up for like, a new pair of Kenneth Cole shoes, or like
Drake loves fashion.
I just love, well, I think rock and roll and fashion, like, have always just gone hand in hand. Like, you grow up looking at Mick Jagger and John Lennon and these guys, and you're like,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to. Like,
I mean, Elvis. Are you kidding me?
Elvis. It's like, what they're
fashion.
wearing. Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. It's like what they're wearing had so much to do with like who they were.
Drake's an old soul.
That I got. I was just
he
really
just
obsessed with those. So I love
being in a suit with a cigar.
Yeah. So like, I when I started doing the show and I got a little bit of money, I was like, whoa, I can go and get suits made. Like, and then I'm spending like a crazy amount, because I'm a kid and I got nobody telling me not to do this and that it's so dumb and whatever, and I'm going and getting like these Italian suits made, and I'm from scratch. I'm picking the fabrics, I'm picking the this and that, and
so Drake,
I still have them to this day, and they still fit. So it's fine. It's
you have a closet.
That's the great thing about buying, nice clothing is it lasts forever. I mean, I have suits that if I put on right now, they look incredible, and they're 12 years old.
Well, that's props to you, because you just haven't changed. You're still you're still the same weight, dude. Yeah. All right, my last question is, what kind of cars do you guys have?
I just got rid of my 1961 Galaxy. It was my second car that I ever had.
That's cool.
And I just
it's the car situation's a sad topic over here.
Yeah,
I just got rid of the Galaxy.
I just gave it to a friend of mine. And but no, we just have normal cars. I drive a sedan, and she has an SUV.
An SUV and a sedan. I feel like that is very open to interpretation there.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it could be a Toyota, it could be a Maserati. You don't know.
You just never know. All right, so we mentioned earlier that you guys have a podcast together, but I don't think we actually mentioned the name of the podcast. What is the name of your guys' new podcast?
Drake and Janet.
Drake and Janet. And so we also talked about what is give me a little elevator pitch of what your podcast is about. Because I know we talked about, we don't know what to talk about, like what we're going to talk about, but like, what is the concept of your podcast?
Pretty much just our lives and what's going on. I have a ton of stories from, just all the years in the industry, and also we can bring on a lot of guests. I have so many friends who have, incredible stories. And I also have friends who are like conspiracy theorists and like super into like wild things and stuff. Like bring them on and like have them talk about some, why is the Earth flat? What I mean?
We're excited for that.
Yeah. So I don't know, just some fun, kooky, wacky stuff. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's more stories about Josh Peck somewhere.
No, I mean,
hey, people will tune in for them.
It's just us, just
Just
You know.
don't piss off the wives.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has really been fun, and I wish you much success on your podcast and coming up with all those topics when you guys work together, you live together, you podcast together. I know that is sometimes a challenge, but it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun together. You guys are making me laugh this whole time. So if you want to check out their podcast, Drake and Janet, go head on over to wherever you listen to your podcasts, and then make sure you follow them on social media at Drake Bell or at Planet Janet TV. How did you come up with that handle, by the way?
I've been Planet Janet for a little bit. It was just my like dream production company name, and then I was producing at Hallmark for a little bit, and I just felt like I was posting so much TV stuff, and then I don't know, and then it was Planet Janet was taken. I was like Planet Janet TV because I'm a TV producer, and then it stayed, and now there's people that call me Planet, and there's people that call me Planet Janet, like Charlie Walk.
Yeah. Hey Planet.
Hey Planet. So now I feel like it's part of me, and yeah, so that's that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys honestly so much. I know that it isn't always easy to get a babysitter come talk to us, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Listen, I pictured that going different because obviously we wanted to know all about the Drake and Josh Peck talking crap on him on BFFs, but like I listened to it, I don't feel like there's a lot of animosity from Drake's side. I feel that he's like, hey, I kind of thought we were friends. Yeah, we've had ups and downs, but I didn't realize you were going to go trash me in front of the world. And at the end of the day, I don't even think he's that mad. He's like, all right, it is what it is, but we'll be friends again one day.
yeah, I think if they ran into each other, I don't think he would try to ignore him. And listen, I think I've talked to Drake now for over an hour, and he apologized. Like, listen, I get it. He posted something on Twitter because probably people are reaching out to him on Twitter. And he responded and wrote something, not knowing it was going to turn into this huge drama. Again, I don't think he needs to address it more. He was like, whoa, I don't know what I started. And then all of a sudden, I guess Josh responds to it, and it becomes a whole big deal. I think there's a little bit of miscommunication on both sides. I don't think nobody's wrong. Yeah. It's just life.
But how many times have you like said something or tweeted something or posted something that like you instantly regretted? And even if you delete it, for him, 1 million people have already seen it. For us, 4 people saw it and we're like, okay, it went away. But for him, like you can't undo that moment in time. Like it's done.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, but I like him. I think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate him speaking openly about like his life and his career. And again, a guy like that, he's been around. Like, you gotta think of the people he's known, like Amanda Bynes and obviously Josh Peck, like that. There's a lot of stars, like these child stars, and these, we grew up we're a little bit older, but like during this whole time gap, they have people like Hillary Duff, him, Miranda Cosgrove, and like all these kind of social, young stars where they're just trying to navigate through life.
Navigate their worlds. Yeah.
It's wild.
Crazy.
It's wild. But again, check out their podcast, Drake and Janet. Thank you guys for listening. Leave a review. Again, I always say,
please leave a review.
Please leave a review. That's all I ask from you guys. I don't ask.
Take the 4 seconds out of your life, please. Leave us a review. It means so much to us, and we will read it. Well, we read one at the top of the show, and we'll read one next week as well.
If you guys like celebrity content that you can't find anywhere else as far as exclusive videos, it's pretty cool. Check out our YouTube page. It's also on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're on it all. We also have a private Facebook group where you can ask us those questions that legally we can't answer some of these questions on air because it's fucking bullshit and you just get sued even though you're right. However, we have no problem answering this question. So just make sure you guys follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and leave a review. Hollywood Raw Podcast. My name's Adam Glyn, Glyn. Dax Holt, Daxholt. See you guys next time. What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.